As recently as yesterday morning, one of our allies in Congress was asked if they agreed with comparing the noble and compassionate work done by U.S. Customs and Border personnel at detention facilities to the concentration camps of Nazi Germany, and she answered, absolutely. To compare the humane work of the dedicated men and women of Customs and Border Protection with the horrors of the Holocaust is an outrage. The Nazis took lives. American law enforcement save lives every day. And make no mistake about it, this slander of law enforcement was an insult to the 6 million killed in the Holocaust. And it should be condemned by every American of every political party everywhere. I promise you, President Donald Trump and I will always honor the memory of the victims of the Holocaust, and we will always honor the service of the brave men and women of law enforcement all across this country. The truth is, as I stand before you today, we have a crisis at our southern border. We're actually on track this year to see nearly 1 million people come across our southern border to take advantage of well-advertised loopholes in America's asylum laws. And for the first time in history, I've seen it firsthand. The majority of those coming across our southern border are families with vulnerable children who are being enticed by human traffickers and drug cartels to pay cash to make the long and dangerous journey north. And it's a dangerous journey, fraught often with unspeakable violence and abuse. 70% of illegal immigrants, once they present at the border, report being victims of violence along the way. According to Doctors Without Borders, nearly 1/3 of young women traveling to our southern border from Central America are sexually assaulted on the journey. Our Customs and Border Protection and Health and Human Services personnel do compassionate work to care for those who have made the dangerous journey and suffered for it. And they provide that compassionate support every day. Unaccompanied children who cross our border are provided with food, education, health care, and transportation to their destination city, all at taxpayer expense. Health and Human Services works to place these children with family members in the United States or alternative arrangements like foster care. Family units who are kept in ICE custody are sent to family residential centers where they can receive shelter and care. Make no mistake about it, the facilities on our border are overcrowded because they're overwhelmed. For the last 6 months, Democrats denied there was even a crisis at our border. They called it a manufactured crisis. Remember that? In so doing, they denied additional funding to care for the vulnerable families flowing across our southern border. And as I stand here today, they continue to refuse to close the loopholes used by human traffickers to exploit those vulnerable families. But in the face of this Democrat obstruction in Congress, President Trump has stood strong. He demanded that Mexico step up, and now Mexico is doing more than ever before to secure their southern border and ours. And just last week, President Trump signed into law a bipartisan measure providing $4.6 billion in humanitarian aid to support the work of HHS and Customs and Border Protection. But you all deserve to know, the same members of Congress who had the gall to compare our detention facilities to concentration camps voted against providing additional humanitarian aid to the same facilities they denounced. In the face of that type of Democrat obstruction, I'll make you a promise. Under this president's leadership, we will secure our border. We will provide compassionate relief to vulnerable families swept up in the crisis, and we will fix this broken immigration system once and for all.